Hello there. Welcome. This is Sarah or PCG. I am going to start my other series. We're going to kind of do them alternating and just really, I don't know how it's going to work. Again, I'm just starting if you listen to that particular podcast. This particular series is going to be called My Story. Can't really come up with anything more creative, but that's okay. It's my story that I get to tell. And this first episode, they're really not episodes, they're episodes, but I don't really have a grand order that they're going to be in. I am going to kind of go in chronological, if I could talk, right? Order. So this one is particularly called Impressionable Years. And we're going to talk a little bit about my young adult life, right? When I was a child. And there's a reason for it. So bear with me. Just keep watching the episode, or watching. Well, you can watch the Bible on this log here if you want, or listening. This here series, and I'm just trying to get in the groove, so please forgive me as I work it out in my head. But again, this is going to be Impressionable Years, My Story series, episode 1. As I think about my whole life, 47 years, right? I'm excited to get to the point where I talk about the last 13 years of my life. But in order to get to that particular point of the last 13 years of my life, I feel it's necessary to give you some background information. The next episode, which hopefully I'll record back to back again, will give you a little bit more detail and understanding. But this one's just the impressionable years. So I know, like in the Bible, if you train up a child in the way he should go, he won't depart from it, right? And, not all of us got to come from saved backgrounds. And I'm going to say saved because, Christian, non-Christian. I remember when I was little, I went to my Graham's church, and I'm going to explain a little bit about which religions I grew up with. It was Methodist that my Graham went to, and we went there. And when I was an adult, after salvation, I went back to that church because I was familiar with it. I knew everybody. My grandma went there, and other people that I knew so very well. And when I first was saved, I went to this Methodist church. And I was so confused by the preaching. And nothing against the Methodists, but this is just this is my personal journey. This is not to, I won't try to bring names in. I won't try to, make other people look horrible because I don't have a lot of horrible people in my life really anyway. But I feel it necessary to share some of the stories, okay? So in my older years, and I'm kind of skipping, okay? So again, I don't know what this is going to look like, just my other series. I'm just kind of outlining where I want to go and putting the points I want in there, but I don't know how it's going to be told, okay? I was going to the Methodist church in my older years after salvation, and I was confused. I even took the reverend aside, and I was asking them, about Jesus and, salvation, and they didn't seem to understand. And in my younger years when I attended there, well, not my younger years, because this is where I'm going to talk about a very dear friend. Pause. Sorry, I had to pause. Catch myself. All right. So some of this will be hard. And it's not because I'm so sad and horrible. I'm just so blessed. Sorry if you heard that. That was my zipper up against the table. Okay. So a dear friend of mine who was key, who was my seed and my waterer. One moment. Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to contain myself. But I'll be honest, this is probably going to be hard for me. I am bearing it all. And I find it just so important. I don't know why. It's just important. And maybe the Lord, years and years down the road, might show me why. But I want to share. Um, anyway, she was my water. She planted the seed and everything. And when I get into the point of really when I came to know the Lord and share my salvation story, again, you'll get more information. You're going to have more of the holes filled in, okay? And I remember a conversation we had, and I don't want to get too deep into it because I will probably down the road. I know I will down the road because it was pretty impactful. And we were talking about the word Christian. And at this time, I was going to my Graham's church. It was high school. And I'm not quite into the impressionable years yet. I know, kind of an odd introduction, isn't it? But you'll hopefully you'll get it. And if you don't, I'm so sorry. It's my tangents. So sorry about the cough. We talked about the word Christian, okay? And I use that word lightly because when people ask about Christian, and this is why I use it so lightly, is because, it's Christ-likeness, right? That's what Christian means. And I remember we talked about it, and, she was giving me the plan of salvation at that moment. And I'm sure if she's listening, which I know she will because she's such a dear friend, one more moment. Whew, sorry, really sensitive, but I love her so much. My poor roommate, she has to live with my sensitivities. I cry all the time. I feel so sorry for her. And that was probably really loud. Anyway, I went to a lady, which happens to be my cousin's grandma. Maybe I shouldn't say that even. I don't know. But I went to her and we talked about that word Christian in church that next day, or I don't remember. And, she's like, "You're a Christian." Yep, you're a Christian. I mean, yeah, you go to church, do all of this stuff. And she was so genuine about it, And she's been going to that church for years and years and years. So, I was so confused back in the day. So I use that term lightly because a lot of people can easily use it, right? When people ask me, "Are you a Christian?" I'm like, "Yep, I'm a born-again Christian." So because, when you come to know Christ, Jesus said it to this man, you're not born of the flesh again, but you're born of the Spirit. So when you come to know Christ, you are reborn as in the Spirit. You have the Holy Spirit living in you and everything. So, but back then I didn't know that. And those were some of the things that I encountered. But younger years, let's talk about a little bit about younger years. This is the impressionable years because you are impressionable. And what happens in your life does, and I don't care what anybody says, I hate to say it, I'm pretty firm on it, impact you as an adult, okay? That's why another episode I said parenting and teaching is such a huge responsibility. And again, I'm not a parent, but please listen to the other episodes if you want to fill in these holes, okay? So younger years, I grew up in a great family. We were all so close. Both sides. My mom's side, my dad's side, we did different things with all of them. And honestly, and I have written a little book for my aunts and uncles because they made such a huge impact on me. Has really created, and so has my mom, huge impact. And the women in my life does kind of make you who you are today. And one of these days I may publish that book, I don't know, but it was just specifically for my aunts and uncles. Well, my aunts really, but I did mention a few of my uncles in there. Well, all of my uncles. Anyhow, those impressionable years makes a difference of who you become. And a couple things I want to go over, and some of it, again, I say these things because I want you to understand a little bit about who I am and where I came from. And why does this, in this here proud Christian girl, I want you to see the journey that I took to get to where I'm at today. A born again Christian, saved and beloved by God, okay? We all are loved by God, okay? He loves us so much. That's why he sent Jesus, right? And you look back, if you look back on your life, and I know most of us do, especially like when you're going through these trials and you look back, that's why I cannot wait to get to the last 13 years, because the Lord has taught me so much. You look back and you see God working. I really believed God protected me in my younger years from a lot of stuff, getting into different things, and I'm going to explain that in just a little bit. But when I was, my mom and dad are still together, praise God. They've married over 52 years, well, 52, I think they're in 52. My sister will correct me if I'm wrong. And because we just did their 50th anniversary, 2021, it's 2 years. So yeah, we're getting close here. And my mom had such an imagination, so creative, kept us busy, did so many fun things, so many things that were like I carried on to my older niece and nephew, traditions, things that were so fun to me, I did with them. And, but there's some things too that also causes you to be who you are. And, yeah, it's going to be hard for me to talk about it, but when I was younger, I was bullied, okay? Bullied by people I love, okay? And it was not easy for me, okay? And I'm not going to be specific, because if they ever do listen to this, I really hope they understand that this is just so that people can see where I came from and where I am now and how it got to be that way. Because I am sensitive. So, I cry. I cry a lot more now than I ever have done. But I'm very sensitive. I'm very sensitive, not just to, things, and I cry all the time, but to people and people's feelings. The bullying, and I wish I could compare some things, because another person that I dearly love was bullied just as I was growing up, and I defended them in a big way because I knew what it did to me and how it made me feel. But the particular outcome is always so different. And I can't speak for this person, and I hope someday this person does tell her own story, because she's got a good one. Anyway. Pause. Listen, I gotta laugh about it because it's so crazy how much I cry these days, but I was bullied, but that's what caused my sensitivity. I don't like to see people hurt. I don't like people I don't like people being made fun of. In school, like, I was on the defensive. I could tell you stories, but I won't. I wish I could tell the one about my sister, my younger one, because it's a funny story, and I don't think she would mind. There was a bully on the playground. I'll just tell it real quick, because this is why I'm the way I am, because I was so bullied, and I know what it made me feel like. I know what it made me think about myself, and I never wanted anybody to feel that way. And so there was a bully on the playground. This is in elementary years. Just for a funny story, because I whipped this kid. Okay, I'm sorry. I beat the dude up. And and maybe it'll help me not cry so much. But you look back and you think, okay, this is why I'm the way I am today. And anyway, he was really picking on my sister, and I'm sorry. Back in the day, and I hate this if you get mad at me, I'm sorry, I was overly protective of my younger sister. Very protective. Always conscious of where she was at. if she got lost in the store, I quickly grabbed her. I can remember a couple of times doing that. I was always conscious of where she was. And anyway, this kid was picking on her. And I'm telling you, I just stormed right over to him and started beating him up. Now, I did pay for it in the end, and I'll explain. And I ripped his jacket, and the teacher had to pull us off, and I was hot to trot. And when I defended myself, I said he was being mean to my sister. And I don't think I got in trouble. I don't remember a lot. But, a week later, I remember he was upset because I totally, put that bully in his place. And he didn't like it because everybody saw. And I was swinging on a swing, and he came up and shoved me off the swing. So we got into another tiff. Anyway, I had to get some laughter in there. I'm so sorry. But just saying all of that, I was bullied by people I loved. I was teased. I was made fun of. I was made to feel as though I was insignificant. And I was ugly and fat. And, you those things that people are so mean to tell you makes a difference and an impression. And how we carry out our response to it, to me, it makes it softened my heart versus hardening my heart, right? I feel as though those moments softened me, preparing me, for the Lord to just kind of pause, for the Lord to just kind of reach me. And those impressionable years, like just not the bullying, but like I was in we grew up in two religions, Catholic and Methodist. And I attended catechism, I went to Catholic church. I remember when my dad said, okay, let the kids decide. And of course we decided to go to my dad's church, which really my dad, I don't think ever went to church over there. It was my grandma who went to church there. And so we went to church with my gram every Sunday instead of the Catholic. And that's when all of the stories came to, life for me. The Bible stories. All of them. David and Goliath. I mean, we were taught all of those stories in that church. And even though I did not grow up in a saved background, people who believed in the plan of salvation and everything, I believe that the Lord used all of that to actually prepare me for me to know him personally in my older years. And I think to me that is the beginning of my story. Really, it says that God calls us and chooses us, right? For those who are his children. And when he calls and chooses us, he already knows when that moment's going to be, right? He already knows. It's like I always say, okay, and this is going to be another podcast, but science fiction comes from the Bible, okay? I feel as though, he's already got his, because he's from the beginning to the end. He knows the beginning of the time to the end, and there's really no end, right? It's just a complete circle. And I feel as though that's where time travel has come in, and people want to see the future, or they want to go back in the past. And so he already knows all of those things. He's already moved to the forward. He knows the time of my death. He knows everything. And just, those impressionable years makes a difference on somebody. And even though I was, my mom, of course, my dad never teased me or anything like that. But it's like when I was bullied by people that I truly loved and trusted, it does make an impact on you, on who you think you are, but it also can either go one way or the other, right? You can either have your heart softened by it, or you can have your heart hardened by it. Because to me, I would never want to cause anyone that kind of hurt or pain. And other people, might have, if you're going to make me feel that way, I'm going to make, you feel that way. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, I never wanted to be that kind of person. And it did make an impression on me, and it made me who I am today. obviously, very sensitive. Another thing I want to mention too in the impressionable years is, um, and nothing against my family, nothing. There's nothing here against my family, but I grew up, in a family that did drink, smoked and drank, and all those things. And it, you'll hear a lot from me, but in my 21, I started drinking as well after salvation, as a matter of fact. So, you know, no judgment here. And what I'm saying is, it's just, I grew up in that, I don't want to say partying, but, there's a party and then there's partying. I don't mind having a party. I love to plan parties for those who know me. But then there's the partying scene, and to me, there's two different things. There's just, and I get it. Some people, have a drink here and there, but there's a difference between drinking and then becoming a drunkard, right? So anyhow, I grew up in that scene as well, and it's nothing wrong. I don't want to offend any of my family because honestly, I love them so much. But this is the background I came from, and I can't deny it, right? And it just showed me back in those younger years some things I didn't want to be like. And even when I was drinking at 21 and getting drunk, crazily drunk, and I don't need to be explicit, but I was horrible. I found it horrible because I became a horrible person. Well, I was just more crazy than I am right now, probably, but I didn't like it. It was so empty, and there is going to be something about that as well, the emptiness. But so back in the younger years, and I don't know how long these ones are going to be. I'm going to try to keep it under 30, but I'm pretty much wanting to just talk about my impressionable years and why I believe the Lord used that. He protected me. I never drank through high school. I never did any of that. And maybe I was a little fearful of it, which I'm so glad, because I don't like being out of control. It's my controlling issues probably. But and I experienced it when I was 21, you're out of control. And I don't like that. Just even with medicine, I was talking about, I'm sick. I was sick for the last 4 or 5 days. I'm still kind of getting over it. And I don't like taking medication. I don't like it. I don't like feeling as out of control. And like some things I won't even take because I feel out of control. Like I take NyQuil, yep, and there's some alcohol in there. However, I know it's going to kick out some of this. Oh, there goes I forgot to turn my phone off for those who listen to every podcast. There's my minions. Anyway, so long story short, there is impressionable years. Everything happens for a reason. And I'm a firm believer, and I believe God uses it. It's everybody's journey, and this is just my journey in my impressionable years. All right, so thanks for listening. This is the My Story series, Impressionable Years. Stay tuned for the next one, and I hope you guys have an amazing day, and take care. Bye.